everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Magical Jill, and you may be wondering, why is this channel called Magical Jill when Magical Jill never shows up on it? Well, Magical Jill has been sick lately, as per usual this time of year. Literally, January and February are the worst months of my life every year. So anyway, chronic illness problems, am I right? But today I wanted to talk a little bit about Sailor Moon art books in particular, and I will explain a little bit more about that in a minute, but first I wanted to ask you a question of the day.
Question of the day.
Is there anything specific from any anime that's like maybe a merch or maybe like a physical Blu-ray or something that you really wanted to come to your country but it just never did and you were really disappointed about it? Because I feel like that happens all the time. A lot less now in America, but especially when I was a kid, it was insane how much anime stuff we just didn't get here because it wasn't popular.
Yeah, what's frustrating about this too in general is I feel like in the future we could almost do the problem with manga and anime art books just in general, you know, because it's not just a Sailor Moon issue. The thing is, most of our audience cares most about Sailor Moon, and I've seen it plague that a lot, which is that up until like 2023-ish, I don't believe that there were physical, actual English editions of the art book for the manga. And by the way, this is ignoring the official art for the anime, which, you know, isn't collected in anything for America or most other countries. And one of the things that annoys me about this is what we did end up getting, which we reviewed on this channel and we never pronounced right, was the Sailor Moon Raisonne.
Raisonne. It sounds French. I don't think it's supposed to be French. I don't know.
It's not how you pronounce it.
I don't know. It's like raisin.
Yeah, well,
but
tell us in the comments down below. We didn't go back and look at the previous one.
One of my biggest problems that I don't think I mentioned at the time when I reviewed this, because I don't think I realized it at the time, was that there was multiple other art books that were released in Japan only. And then this art book is supposed to be like the super art book, you know, not Sailor Moon super, but I mean like the super art book where like all the art pieces are supposed to be in it, or at least almost all of them.
1991 through 2023. So it was almost supposed to be like a compendium of all those previous ones.
Yeah, and so like it has all of these pictures shoved into it, whereas these pictures used to be full page or sometimes multi-page spanning pictures, and instead you get them at a fraction of the size in this book. So either the book could have been bigger and we could have had all of the pictures like on the full-size pages, or maybe they should have just released the other art books that were Japanese only. Like, I don't understand why they never did that, and instead they just kind of gave us a compendium.
Something I've noticed too is when you bring this stuff up, people are like, oh, well, you just want it to come to America. No, I would like it to be everywhere that Sailor Moon is popular. You know, there's a lot of English-speaking countries, so that's not just America anyway. But the only other country I've seen that someone said they had this in was someone said they had a German copy of one of them. So I'm sure that there are like a few rare floating around translated versions of some of those art books, especially from when they were circulating in the 90s. And, you know, Europe was kind of interested in anime at the time. But I think in general, this has been something where supplementary material for anime and manga, guidebooks, you know, lore books, all of that stuff, they are not in languages outside of Japan because historically Japan has been isolationist.
Yeah.
So Japan often views their stuff as their stuff. But when you start introducing it to a worldwide market, and that's where a lot of Sailor Moon's franchise money came from, like I was looking it up, it is one of the highest grossing anime IP ever. Estimated revenue is somewhere over $14 billion, with a bunch of that coming from overseas.
I wonder what that is compared to Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball made a lot more. Because it was on some of these lists too.
That's interesting.
But Dragon Ball did a better job than Sailor Moon appealing to a worldwide audience earlier, you know, especially in like Central America. And so this is kind of a problem you have where you want your thing to be your special thing, but you still want all the money from all the foreigners. But then you're not willing to actually put out a lot of things outside of your central country. This is a problem I've had with Japan forever. I think it's such a cool country. There's a lot of amazing people and a very beautiful history there, and really interesting. Some of the best fiction I think ever has come out of that country.
But some of the best anime merch of all time is like Japanese only.
It's almost like they feel like we deserve our own thing nobody else can have it, but we still want all of the money from all the other countries.
For a long time, some of the most detailed figures were also Japan only. Like, there are Full Metal Alchemist figures that are, like, really insane to buy now that were only released in Japan that are awesome, super cool. Can't really get them because they were only released in Japan. And then these art books are the same thing for Sailor Moon, which annoys me because I'm somebody who loves art. I love Sailor Moon and I love books. I would have bought every single one of these books if I could, if they were, even if they weren't even all translated in English, if they were at least readily available in America for a price that wasn't absolutely insane. Because like, the price is insane if you want to have it shipped from Japan, obviously.
Well, you should also show some of these from eBay. Some of them have not been reprinted in many years.
So people scalp them.
They're hundreds of dollars. They've accrued this value where the people who really wanted to collect them have them, and everybody else who's getting into Sailor Moon later, or maybe is being punished for not being financially wealthy, those fans aren't able to get it. And I do. And
then we get a consolation prize of this compendium, which has all the pictures in it.
And it is cool.
But they're not of the same quality, because these pictures were, it's like if you watched a movie in 480p instead of 4K. You know what I mean? Like, don't you want to go and see it like in the highest quality possible? But instead you only have like the VHS tape of it. Yeah, you can watch it, but it's not as good.
Yeah, and maybe it's like the globalist in me. That's a joke, but I've always thought that fiction kind of belongs to everybody. You know, for me, it's kind of like Campfire Tales. You know, it would be really douchey if someone said, no, this one belongs to me, go away, right? You know, stories are something that's brought us together as a species for so many years. And so to then use parts of it to kind of separate people, especially when it's a story like Sailor Moon about togetherness and found family and finding a purpose and all that stuff.
And love conquering all.
Yeah, and Sailor Moon always fights for the world. It's not, like, yes, she's in Japan, but they are pretty clear, especially in the anime and manga, it's never just about Japan. Like, it's worldwide stakes. And so for it to be that, and then for the actual way that they treat it to be to dump a bunch of kind of crappy merch at places like FYE, if you know that store, or Box Lunch, you know, where it's just kind of meh stuff, but then Japan gets all the best stuff.
Yeah.
But then they still want all the money from America and all these other countries. I guess for me...
I mean, even look at the Sailor Moon cafes and like those special like Sailor Moon cafe musicals. I did a video on that recently about how they're bringing back that musical cafe that used to be in the Osapi jewelry building.
Yeah, the Shining Tokyo one.
Yeah, there is nothing like that in America. Literally, Japan gets all the best stuff, and I understand it originated in Japan. I understand the fans, a lot of them are in Japan. But, I mean, just seeing how amazing the Super Live did in at least the States, let alone the UK, I don't understand why you wouldn't try to bring everything to the States and the UK at the very least, let alone South America.
Well, yeah, I mean, Central America especially is really big with a lot of these things. I think Saint Seiya might be a little bit bigger in Central America, but it's because, like Dragon Ball, what they did was these TV groups got licensing for it, and back then Toei and other groups, they were open to it. They were like, yeah, sure, put it as many places as possible. We like money. You know? I mean, it's the Mr. Krabs mentality. And if you have that mentality as a company, but then you're not willing to actually release these things in other places where people have access to them, it just seems kind of like a really, at the very least, really short-sighted move. And I think it really comes from the isolationism. Like, I think it comes from Japan thinking, we made this thing, and then there's all these foreigners and activists and crazy people, you know, like some of those CBR articles that are like, Sailor Moon aged terribly, and it's about this guy who likes this girl who's too young for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
and he's like 25 years old and she's like 12, because they always exaggerate the ages.
Yeah,
they always make it seem like he's older than he is.
For Tuxedo Mask.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes kind of nuts. Well, and I think that sadly, a lot of Japan's exposure to foreigners with anime is, oh, they want to change it. Oh, they want it to not be what it is. They want to get rid of the Japanese culture of it. But I don't think most people do. I think most people, they want more content. They just want high quality content. They'll critique your story if they feel like you have missed opportunities, but people are willing to throw money at this, and this book shows it. It sold very well.
And I feel like if they got on some of this a lot earlier, because Dragon Ball's been doing this since like the 80s, literally, when they announce a new Dragon Ball thing that's gonna come out, it is said that the cartel stops doing as many crimes as they did before because they're so excited about Dragon Ball that that's what they're, like, interested in.
I am 99% sure that's just a joke.
I might be a joke. I'm just saying, even if that's a rumor, it goes to show that so many people care about Dragon Ball specifically in so many different countries, albeit some of them might be bad people, but in so many different countries, you know, that it gives them so much money. That's why the revenue is so much more than Sailor Moon. You know, like we just talked about how Sailor Moon's 14 billion and Dragon Ball is more than that. So imagine if they had, like, got on this a little earlier, you know, gave us all the merch they possibly could, kind of like Dragon Ball does, because there's not really very many things I can think of that Dragon Ball has that's Japanese only. You know?
I mean, there are things, but yeah, you're right. I mean, they make it pretty accessible.
It's not nearly as much.
I do think that their art books are a little frustrating too, though.
But basically, my point is, you know, Sailor Moon could be even bigger of a franchise than it already is if they had capitalized off of all of these different countries the way Dragon Ball did.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think it's unfortunate. I think that if anime is going to continue to expand, there needs to be an understanding from the West that you can't force all your cultural values on it. I think that needs to be an understanding. And maybe, like, the one place I draw the line is when it gets a little too young, you know, with the sexualization. That's kind of OE to me. I don't like that. But other than that, like, I think Westerners need to realize, like, you can't go in and push off all your values on Japan and expect them to change all the anime for you.
Yeah.
But I kind of think Japan needs to realize that if you want your thing to be as big as possible, whether it's manga, merchandise, anything, you need to be willing to open those doors and understand that just because a fan is white doesn't mean they're a crazy person, or just because they're black doesn't mean that they're a crazy person. It means that they are a fellow human being who literally wants to throw money at your thing.
Yeah, and this rant all stemmed from the fact that the Sailor Moon Raisonne art book.
Croissant!
Yeah.
The Sailor Moon croissant!
It just feels kind of like a yearbook of Sailor Moon. Like, it feels like, oh, we couldn't find a way to fit this picture in. Just overlap it with the other one. It's fine. And when it feels like all the Japanese-only art books were so much better quality, you know, full-page renders of these pictures that Naoko put, you know, blood, sweat, and tears into. Drawing is not easy, everybody. No. It is not easy. And coloring is even harder. So imagine all of the time she has spent over the years on these beautiful drawings and then just get shoved into a book.
Yeah, and, well, I think it also comes off a little bad because Naoko herself is extremely wealthy. I know that she's working with her husband, trying to help him with Hunter x Hunter and all of that stuff. But, like, it starts to feel out of touch with the average fan who can't go on and spend hundreds of dollars on just one little thing.
Yeah, on, like, the full prints of them.
Who does love your thing. And for me, this also came up, the reason I thought of this originally was we got the complete works of Akira Toriyama art book, like, for Dragon Ball. I don't remember the exact name of it. And it was so much higher quality.
It was so detailed.
Yet.
And it had blurbs from Akira Toriyama himself talking about his art.
Yet, it also cut out a lot.
Yes.
And so it was another thing where it was a greatest hits, where even though it was better than this, it was still not as good as it could be. And that's kind of something that made me think about this is how many of these things, not just Sailor Moon, is it like you get a nerfed, watered down version of?
I feel like Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball should get the Dark Souls art book treatment. You know, like, if you guys have ever seen Dark Souls art books, they're insane. They talk about everything you could possibly think of for the games, all the concept art, everything. I want that treatment for Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball.
And I think that this kind of leads into a follow-up video we'll do in the future, which is we really think that Sailor Moon deserves more love and deserves more of the treatment that things like Dragon Ball have gotten, where it's getting games,
still getting
movies.
TV shows.
Yeah, and people are willing to make things.
Akira cared about that whole property until the day that man died.
And then he left it with someone who still wanted to make stuff.
Who still loves it, yeah.
And I think that's still my problem with the way that Naoko, as much as I respect her, and everybody who's had a hand in the rights has handled it, is they clearly still want money from figures. They still want to sell you an action figure or a teacup or a candy bar with Sailor Moon's freaking face on it.
But there's no new Sailor Moon transformations.
And there's no new Sailor Moon stories, really. There's no new Sailor Moon, like, a lot of the stuff that's locked to Japan only, they still won't bring it here. I'm just saying that's frustrating. I mean, even we talked about Sailor V. There's a whole story right there that was really freaking good. I read through Sailor V.
Great story.
I thought it was awesome.
Really fun. And there's a couple of things that, like, are kind of like you think retconned in Sailor Moon.
Yeah, sure.
But, like, that's just because she wrote it first, you know?
That's just a simple cut out a line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think in general it's unfortunate to see with how much we are passionate about this and love this, and you know, you have come up with like all these Sailor Moon fanfics in your head even over the years.
I have had like this sounds really stupid, but I've had dreams about like how I would continue the series if I was the writer.
No, it's not stupid. That's passion. I think that one of the most frustrating things for me to see as a storyteller, not a famous one, but as someone who went to school for storytelling in America and stuff like that, is when people have the rights to a story and they treat it like a commercial property and not a piece of art. It can be both, but if really you hit the point where you only care about it as a commercial property, I just think that's a damn shame because everybody else is invested in it as more than that. And I think the art book issue it really encapsulates this of, yeah, we want your money, but we don't want it enough to make something really good. We'll give you something we know you'll buy because it's all you get.
And I think the opposite side of the spectrum that we don't want is look at something like DC Comics. You know, how they have overinflated their stories and they've overinflated their merch to an insane amount.
And they never stop.
And they just never, ever, ever stop to the point where it gets bad.
Yeah, nobody wants anime and manga to become that, but I don't think, you look at something like Dragon Ball, I don't think it has become that. It can keep telling the same story, it can tell new stories, take new spins without ruining it.
And that's what we want for Sailor Moon. We just want a little more, and we want the rest of the art books that are Japanese only. Sorry, I get messed up with my words.
You're okay.
But I want the rest of those art books to be sold in America. I want them on my shelf.
I think that one of the biggest mistakes, to kind of close out, and it's something that Netflix said about piracy a while back, was they said that, with piracy, one of the easiest things to do to prevent piracy is you create ease of access. If you make it so somebody's only paying a little bit of money and they get access to your story, they're not going to bother pirating it. So one of your biggest mistakes, if you do care about the money side, is to have people willing to spend money on things and not give it to them. And I think that that's where Sailor Moon is.
That's where Nintendo is too.
Yeah, well, and I think that this can be like a full, later on, bigger rant, maybe a few videos down the line, talking about how good Dragon Ball has handled this. I want to look at that more closely with actual bullet points and details, and how poorly Sailor Moon has handled it and how it could change. But that's kind of where I think our thoughts leave on it. I think it really just comes down to we love Sailor Moon so much
that we want
more of it, and as long as it's good, and for some reason nobody else seems to, which sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. It makes me mad. Anyway, rant over. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, please take a look at some of my other Sailor Moon videos. I also
super long playlist for Sailor Moon.
True.
We've got a lot of Sailor Moon videos that are really fun.
I also do Dragon Ball. I've done a little bit of Full Metal Alchemist. I do some other things on this channel, so definitely check it out. I also have an awesome shop called CosmoBunny.shop.
Yeah, so what we do over there is, speaking of art and believing art should live on and loving art, we make one-of-a-kind items made out of paper and resin. So what these are coasters, keychains, trays, and more. We never print any items to violate intellectual property rights or copyright or anything like that. We believe in fair use laws. And what those do is they allow for the use of something if you're transforming it and reusing it.
I use old packaging, like from dolls, and old comic books, and old pamphlets, and old things like that.
Even
and then
art books like this, we have a couple that are damaged.
Yeah.
They would end up in a landfill.
And then I will take them and I will turn them into art pieces within resin, like trays, coasters, keychains, and more. They're all super awesome. Use code SAILOR in all caps for 10% off of your order. And we'll see you all in the next video. Bye!
Bye!